Are we good to go?
We're good.
Okay, well, good evening. Happy New Year. Let's get this thing rolling. I will now call to order the THPRD Board of Directors meeting for January 8th, 2025. Jessica, will you please call roll?
Niels Palacios.
Here.
Tina Ping. Here. Barbie Minor.
Here.
Alfredo Moreno.
Here.
Luisa Monteblanco. Here.
Excellent. Well, there was no action resulting from executive session tonight, so I think we can keep it on moving to item report. Pardon. So I think we've got Jared and Julie. Thank you. And it's even here up on the board for me. I'm looking at 4 different pieces of paper instead of just looking at the lovely PowerPoint you have for me. Welcome. Good evening.
Thank you, President Minor and members of the board. Jared Isaacson, Finance Director for the district. I'm joined this evening by Julie Fahey from Talbot, Corvola, and Warwick, the district's auditors. We are here to present the annual financial report, as well as a Secretary of State corrective action plan for your consideration this evening. And with that, I will turn it over to Julie.
All right, thank you. Hopefully you can hear me. Let me know if you don't, but thank you for having me here this evening. As Jared said, I'm Julie Fahey, an audit partner with Talbot, Corvola, and Warwick, here to present the audit results for the district's activities for June 30, 2024 on their financial statements. So I don't know who's moving the slides or, okay, so can I, or I'll just, okay, or keep going.
There we go.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. So we did have interim field work. We had it for 1 week in May, and then we returned and we have final field work. We had that during the month of November. This is just kind of an overview of the activities or, of the audit process for the district. There were no new major funds for testing. There was no single audit in the current year. It was a big year for the district. So we tested conversion entries in their transition from Springbrook to Tyler that occurred on January 1st. So that was actually a huge, in the world of accounting, that's a really big moment. They worked really hard building up to this ERP implementation of moving from Springbrook to Tyler. So, and it fell during this fiscal year. So June, during the fiscal year 24. And so part of our procedures and risk assessment is we tested the conversion entries of what they had previously in Springbrook and then the summarized conversion entries that were brought into Tyler. So we audited the entire fiscal year and were able to pull, samples were from both systems, but we ensured what was brought into the trial balance in Tyler accurately reflected the last 6 months of Springbrook. So that was it. That was a big lift, for finance to actually do and implement. And then it was part of our audit procedures as well. Just letting you know, this did not have an impact on the district, but there's always new GASB statements that are applicable. So this first one being GASB 100. So this is Governmental Accounting Standard Board. Their new statements had to do with accounting changes and error corrections, had no impact on the district this year. Okay, so out of this, hopefully you received a beautiful copy of this ACFR. It's about 124 pages. So I know that you guys all went through it in quite a bit of detail. But there are only 3 reports that are actually our reports as the auditor's reports included within this 124-page document. I will highlight we issued on December 16th. So considering everything that the district undertook during the year with the implementation for finance, pretty impressive the fact that we were able to finish the audit. We met with the audit committee. We issued on the 16th. The district was able to submit it to GFOA and the Secretary of State on time. So big lift on their part. So the 3 reports are independent audit report. This is an unmodified opinion. So when you're having an audit, this is what you're looking for. It's a clean opinion. It essentially says with all the work that we did, and it's a very interactive process, but all the work that we did in May and November and in between and after, we feel that the financial statements are presented fairly in accordance with GAAP. There are two other reports that are included within this ACFR, and those are on page 121 and 122. The second one is a report on internal control over financial reporting in accordance with government auditing standards. So it asks us, in the course of the audit, if there were any issues with internal controls, we would include it in this letter. And we did. We had one issue we noted a significant deficiency related to some entries that were proposed as a result of the audit. And management was completely on board in concurrence with us, no issues whatsoever in agreement on just recording those. So that was done. Then the third report is the report on compliance and internal control over financial reporting in accordance with Oregon state regulations. So as a governmental entity, as THPRD is, as the district is, the state of Oregon asks us to look at certain things in the course of our audit. We do that. Those are listed in bullet format on that page 122. If there were any issues, if we had any non-compliance noted whatsoever, that would be noted within that report. There was not. So happy to report, like we look at budget law and procurement and, over expenditures, nothing noted. So that would have been, if there was any non-compliance, would have been included in there. So very much appreciation, good job to the district for nothing being noted. So that's kind of an overview of the ACFR itself, the actual financial statements, before I get to the required communications and we go over the corrective action plan. Any questions on the actual financial statements? Okay, so there was another document that was uploaded in your board packet, and this is our required communications to you as the board. Under professional standards, there's certain items that we'll communicate. One of them, just outside of that, is letting you know we did meet with the audit committee. We met with them in September. So that is after we have interim fieldwork, kind of give them an update and how the process is going. And then also we met with them in December. So when we met with them, the ACFR was actually in draft form. So they had it presented to them like a week ahead of time. They have the opportunity to go through it. They ask questions. It's a very interactive, can be open dialogue, any questions that they want to go over about the draft and the audit process, we go over with the audit committee. So we had that with them in December. In this letter that I had that you have in your board packet, there were no difficulties encountered during the audit. As I mentioned before, the adjustments that we had 3 audit adjustments that we proposed during the course of the audit that were related to that significant deficiency, no uncorrected misstatements, no disagreements with management, not aware of any consultations with other accountants. And it also lets you know that there's always upcoming GASB standards, so the Governmental Accounting Standard Board. So a couple on the horizon that are in the letter. You could always read more about them. It'd be exciting nighttime reading, but GASB 101 for compensated absences, GASB 102 for certain risk disclosures. So the district will, over the course of this fiscal year 25 that we're in, they will look at the application and if there's any implementation and effect on their financial reporting for this fiscal year 25 of that. So before I conclude and we can go over the corrective action plan, just to point out in the ACFR, so the district has received the certificate of finance, excellence in financial reporting from GFOA for 19 years. They will submit this ACFR for their 20th award, have no doubt it will be awarded. And then before I finally conclude, I would like to express appreciation to Jared and his team, to him, Olivia, Cindy, Day, everybody has been hugely involved in supporting the audit. It is a long process and a lot of detail and a lot of hours, weekends, evenings, but it could not be done without the support. And it's impressive, even with the implementation that they've been going through, to be here tonight in early January and presenting with a report that actually got issued before the end of the fiscal year. So that's great. At this point, are there any questions?
Any discussion?
Questions?
Yeah, I just want to say just as a comment that I appreciate meeting with you, Julie, earlier and just in your statement, just as a reminder about about your firm and the audit being that the board does the audit, right? Like you're independent and I think sometimes it's easy to conflate that this all happens with staff. You're hired by staff to do but your role is like a board thing.
What I say is I work closely with management, but I work for the board.
Exactly.
And so I absolutely report anything that I feel under professional standards needs to be reported.
Exactly. So that, I mean, I always appreciate just hearing that because sometimes when it's not your world, you kind of, and you all are doing the hard work and we're just hearing this part, but it is important to like have that knowledge and awareness that you are for lack of a better word, a tool and instrument to ensure our good financial stewardship and governance and things like that. So thank you. And I just wanted to, that's helpful for me to have that reminder every time we've had an opportunity to have this session and to talk. So thanks.
Appreciate all of the hard work. I think the awards, this was, I don't, obviously, consistently, this has been happening. I don't want to take that for granted, just simply because you look at something, you're like, this will be the 20th year running. It doesn't make the work get any easier. It doesn't make the cut and the paste like, so the attention and the dedication to continue to live up to said standard. I mean, it's kind of like one of those things when you drop a hit album and then, well, you've got to make the second album. Y'all have like got this standard up here, and thank you, Jared and your team, for continuing to just be able to deliver in this way. So it's not taken for granted.
And she's calling you rock stars.
That's what I heard.
What I heard.
Thank you, Miles. That was exactly what I was saying.
It is a lot of work. We're sometimes on email over the weekends and evenings,
Yes.
and we're making it happen.
Yes, yes.
And I'm sure there's probably a 2-week window where you're like, oh, that's done. And then let's do it for next year. So again, the stamina that's required is greatly appreciated.
I too want to thank Julie for her and her team and accommodating us of the crazy schedule that we had this year with the implementation and with getting things to them last minute. They were very accommodating and very helpful in making this happen timely and before the end of the calendar year. So thank you.
Rather remarkable.
I'd like to acknowledge as well, Julie took the time and effort to attend our annual meeting for the foundation. And the reality is we're together, and Julie has helped, me really appreciate the legal perspective on that and the importance of how we track that and the justification for the level of engagement for the park district, particularly the accounting staff, Julie's time and effort of managing our way through, because our success is dependent on each other. And we have, as the board is well aware, we have some unique opportunities coming before us. So the activity level is going to pick up, and it's a great thing. But the importance of packaging that all together is really, Julie has helped a great deal with that.
Okay, are we going to chat about, okay, I wasn't sure if we were going to, I will entertain a motion. Is that,
I move that the board of directors accept the audit report on the district's annual comprehensive financial report and Secretary of State corrective action plan for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2024.
let's go, will you take a vote?
Lisa Monteblanco.
Yeah.
Alfredo Moreno.
Yes.
Tia Pink.
Yeah.
Miles Palacios.
Yes.
Barbie Minor.
Yes. Fantastic. Y'all look
Thank you.
surprised.
We're prepared to talk more if you needed to.
Trust is there, I think. Trust is there. Okay, and this evening, I don't believe that we have any public comments, so we can move right past our audience time and we can transition to our community liaison updates. Does anyone want to kick us off? Maybe. Sure. Anybody? I don't, exactly. I don't want to put anyone on the spot.
Oh, we had our trip.
Oh,
you go first.
Yeah.
You go. Sorry.
Well, and two of us were able to go. And I'm talking about visiting Grand Ronde, which was wonderful, the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde, and lots of takeaways. But I guess I want to highlight that it was a really fun mix of people, including THPRD staff, as well as other leaders in the region, elected and not. it was a learning opportunity. It was an opportunity to build relationships and sit humbly and just appreciated the opportunity to learn and get smarter and be more thoughtful in our work. And I don't know what'll come of it, and that's okay, because it was wonderful. And then I'll share that, we all use the district in various ways. And I've always been team parks, team trails. And I am now, not that I wasn't before, but I'm learning how to swim. Oh my God, Sabrina. So fun fact, I don't know how to swim. And with my 40th birthday on the horizon, I was like, I want to learn how to do this. Talked to Sabrina a little bit. She had some ideas. I've been going to Harmon and working with Jill, who is a saint. Not all heroes wear capes. She's amazing and so patient with me. Learning how to swim at 39 is a humbling experience. But it's been really a wonderful way to get to know the district in a different way, build my skills. And I want to be more confident in the water. So it's just been a really wonderful learning experience. I've got to 3 lessons already and lots more to go to. So anyways, just wanted to share that in a commitment to learning and accountability.
That's huge.
You can give me your life jacket, because I will use.
So I will always wear my life jacket.
I do, but it's good. Common joke, if I get on the 50-meter deck, the staff is running out with the life. Should he fall in?
All right, who would like to go next?
Can I go just so I'll
Please.
piggyback off the ground run because I was lucky enough to go also. So thank you to staff and Barbie and Felicia for helping to put that together. It was a really wonderful experience. Thank you to Bruce for driving us there and getting us there safely. He took his job very seriously and would not participate in any of the card games. He was so focused on getting us there. But I think the biggest thing that will come out of it is relationship building and having those resources and the learning how they've done their things their way and advocated for them. It was a good lesson on how other communities advocate for themselves and how we can bring those lessons here and branch off and help them advocate and bring all of, more of their culture, and just help showcase it more in our area. And just it's exciting that we have those potential opportunities and we have somebody to actually work with and stuff now that we have those things. So it was just a really great opportunity there. So
Miles.
I don't have a ton of updates. I am really excited for our joint advisory committee meeting this next week. The one thing that I will say is I had a kind of childhood friend's older brother reach out to me and was super excited about the Parks District because he works in the field and had read about us. And so it was really cool to kind of see that connection. And yeah, it just always makes me excited to see about the different ties that we have.
I don't have much to say either. I will just make a quick plug for the winter camp staff at Conestoga Rec Center. Our 2 kids were there several days. We had a little snafu on the first day that our youngest was there, and staff was very warm and quick to respond. And I just thought in general, our kindergartner is kind of introverted and shy, but he's going to need to learn to start spending a lot more time at THPRD because mom and dad we don't want him around all that much. He needs to be out with other kids and all that stuff so we can get things done. So it was important for him to get used to it, but I knew it was going to be a slow process for him. He's not, he doesn't make a friend every minute like his older sister does. So, but he had a really nice experience. And I think that's just, he would have rather been home, sure. But I think just the care that the staff puts into just getting to know the kids. And our oldest daughter always has some interesting factoid that she discussed with a counselor, with a staffer there. And so I just think they're, those young people working the camps have a big presence in the minds of a 9-year-old or a 10-year-old. And so just kudos to that. Another great experience. And so that's all I wanted to say.
that. I will offer thanks and appreciation to Felicita and staff and Tia and all of the folks who did attend. I fell ill and unfortunately wasn't able to attend. So I'm going to make my own trip. Another time this will happen, but that is not to negate our linchpin player over here. Jess, really appreciate your support behind the scenes. It takes a tremendous amount of logistical organization and whatnot. So just thank you for supporting and making it happen. And your girl was really, really disappointed that things went the way that it did. But that said, just again, want to make sure that I thank my fellow folks as well. I had the opportunity to attend the Kwanzaa event over at HMT. That was done in co-production with the Beaverton Black Parent Union. And I am just always amazed at this way in which we are now partnering. And I'm disappointed that I don't get to look at Holly directly in her eyes, but this partnership between community-based organizations and co-producing in this way. And it was just a wonderful opportunity to bring, there was vendors of local makers and craftspeople sharing their wares, performances and community building and craft making, and just really was a fantastic, wonderful event, and wanted to send thanks to all of the staff for helping support that event as well. Nature and Trails Committee, we met right before the break. We elected our new officers for next year and kind of talked about goals and ideas for what we'd like to accomplish in this coming year. I think more will be sharpened and refined after, again, our joint committee next week. But welcome some new folks into onto our committee. So yeah, I think that was it for my updates. And of course, a happy new year and well wishes for everyone. With that, there's not any other comments. We likely can move on. I would entertain a motion on our consent agenda.
I move that the board approve the consent agenda as submitted.
I'll second that.
Jessica, would you take a vote, please?
Lindsay Monteblanco, Alfredo Moreno.
Yes.
Tia Ping, Miles Palacios, Barbie Minor.
Yes. We're moving along quickly tonight, y'all. I guess it's new year, new you. Here we go.
Yeah.
All right, well, happy to move us along to agenda item number 8, our legislative update. And so take it away, Aisha.
Good evening, President Minor and board members. Aisha Panis, your Deputy General Manager. And with me on the phone in her car is Kylie. She's not moving. I'm pretty confident. Yes, she's confirming. But Kylie Gruno with Meriwether Strategies, our state lobbyist, is with me tonight. And she's got some updates for you on the state side. I just wanted to offer a few on the federal side. I've been in contact with KP Pratt, who's with our federal firm, which had been Smith, Dawson, Andrews, and is now Smith Garson. So our big contact, Brett Garson, for many years, has now assumed a higher profile role within the organization. So we're thrilled for him. And they will, I believe, the second was their rebranded beginnings. So KP and I have been talking about our strategy for the next several months. Of course, everyone's very curious what is it going to feel like in Washington? And so they're keeping a finger on all of that and going through continuing resolutions and sharing that information out with us. And one of the things that they're very keenly monitoring for us is just the status of the earmark. We have moved through that process, but it's not done. And so we're very anxious to see whether the ADA improvements that had gotten some support thus far continue on. So that would be a wonderful win for us if that were to happen. I also wanted to share that we have been working with an entity called the National Special Districts Coalition for quite some time, and that's the group that's really been pushing the preservation and enhancement of our ability as a special district to gain access to funding that we haven't always had access to. That group announced today that they are now the National Special Districts Association. So also a new rebranding, but I think this is in recognition that we're as special districts going to be taking a larger space up in Washington. And so that was very good to hear. We do have the bill that we're pushing forward. I think the proponent, I think it's Kristen Sinema, has left. And so we're looking at so sorry. We're looking at Senator Merkley coming on as a co-sponsor of that bill, which would be wonderful. So that's been through some conversations that KP and Smith Garson that they have had at the federal level. So that is a very good thing for us. So we're looking forward to that. We reviewed with Leilani, our grant administrator, all of the different things that we've been working on, including the long list of different funding sources we're looking at for West Side Trail Bridge. And we're trying to match it up with some different funding sources that KP has identified for us. So we're moving forward with that, always looking at different options for what we can do. And just kind of talking through things that we're working on right now has revealed some projects that she thinks may have some good competitiveness for us in funding realms. So we're continuing on with that. So that's kind of the federal side. And as far as state goes, we have Kylie here who wants to update you on what we've been doing in the interim, what happens next week as things really start happening next week. And so I will turn it over to her now. Go ahead, Kylie.
Thank you so much. And I really appreciate the opportunity to do this remotely since I couldn't be there in person. Can you hear me okay?
Got you.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think if we go to the next slide, and we only need to spend a moment on this, I just wanted to do a little brief reminder as we get ready for the long session to start, that the really primary purpose of the session is to pass the 2-year budget. And that happens in the long session. And so there's been kind of this process of budgeting. There's been the agency request budgets. There's been the governor's request budget, that everybody probably saw in the newspaper and whatnot that happened in early December. And so that goes to legislatures, kind of a guidance and consent sort of document that the legislature doesn't have to really follow, but it gives them great guidance as to what the governor is prioritizing and where she wants to see dollars go. And so then it is the legislature's job to take kind of what happened in the last biennium, the governor's input, the agency's input, and come up with both their proposed budget, and then by the end we'll have the legislative adopted budget. So I'm sure many of you already know that, but I like to go over that review just kind of because that's one of the primary purposes of what we're heading into. So next slide. So this is the calendar. Next week, we have the swearing in, the organizational days and training for new legislators and legislators as they're becoming chairs of committees and whatnot. And then the action really starts on January 21st when the session begins. I'll note that bills are generally dropped the Sunday beforehand, Sunday evening. So on the 19th, we'll start to see the actual bills that are going to be introduced, or at least the first kind of, I don't know, 1,000 of those bills will come out. I've heard a rumor that they might be out as early as the 17th. So those of you that are looking for bills know that I've heard a rumor. And if you've heard something different through your contacts, would love to hear it. But I think that's when I'm going to start paying attention to the system and start to identify what might be of interest to THPRD. And then the rest of these are just some of the different deadlines that happen throughout session that give you kind of a sense for the flow. As I noted, the deadlines don't apply to Rules, Revenue, and Ways and Means Committee. So that's the sense of where they go. And things actually become a lot more manageable after that first chamber deadline, but by then we're already in April, and so we're getting towards the end. I've noted that they always target the end of session sine die, like, a week or two before they have to end. It never ends by the target sine die. It will be somewhere between target sine die and constitutional sine die, if not darn close to constitutional sine die. So hope for the 18th, but be ready to be there through the 29th. And then I also noted down at the bottom that we have historically, and I would love to be able to do it again, a THPRD lobby day. And we haven't set that date yet, and I'll work with Aisha to find a date that works for as many of you as possible to come down to the Capitol and meet with as many members of our legislative delegation as possible to give them an update, share with them priorities, talk about all the wonderful things that are happening in the district, including I heard a little bit about that great audit that happened at the beginning. So, all the fun stuff we get to share with them. And if anybody has any questions or comments as we go through, please let me know. But next slide. Okay, so these are kind of the top issues that we're hearing about or thinking about going into session, not for THPRD, but just kind of globally. So the governor made it really clear in her recommended budget where she's really thinking about and putting money towards. So housing and homelessness issues, education and behavioral health is where she really where she put her money where her mouth is. The other big issues that were in her budget, but were not necessarily her top priorities, are around the transportation package and wildfire funding. Those are both big ticket funding items that are gonna not be easy to figure out how the legislature wants to handle both of those issues. And those are going to take a lot of time. And then an important context for that is that with the final election results, we have supermajorities for the Democrats in both chambers. So that means that the Democrats do not need a Republican vote on tax measures. Though if you were listening at the Oregon Business and Summit and whatnot, things go better when you've got not super, when you're working together and across the aisle. So it will be those big ticket items, transportation, wildfire funding. Hopefully there's the kind of collaboration and working together on that. But those super majorities can impact how those things will move forward. So next slide. And so this is more about what we care about. So THPRD, these are the state priorities. And I didn't go through the individual issues within each of these buckets, but I think you know them. I think you, in October, November, you did an update to these and kind of walked through the different bullet points within each of these buckets. And these guide my activities and what I'm paying attention to and how I think about what to monitor and to share and all that kind of stuff. So these are how I organize your bills and how I monitor the bills and how we report. So, and they reflect the most updated language that you adopted. Next slide. Okay, so these are some of the more specific issues that we anticipate to happen and to be discussed in this session. These are no real order because like the RVs issue and bill is not one that's really a top priority for the district. We know that some of our partners really care about that, but it's on the horizon. Some of the ones that are really important, recreational immunity, that's going to continue to be an issue. We were part of a coalition that was able to get language passed in the last session that addressed some of the really pressing issues. That was temporary language. So that language that was helpful is not going to be in statute any longer. So we are working with Senator Przanski, who is the chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee, about how we move forward. And that's really kind of looking at how we define recreational purposes and that kind of stuff to get at some of the concerns that have happened with the recent lawsuits. So that's going to be a good conversation, but a challenging one to be able to navigate what is in the definition and what isn't. So we'll be paying a lot of attention there. Transportation package, as I talked about, big ticket item, not an easy conversation because previous packages have been more about like project funding and how we go out and fund different things around the state. This one's really about the fact, a big portion of it anyway, is about how ODOT does not have the budget they need to do their operational, meet their operational maintenance and preservation needs. So they did a large roadshow over the summer. They've had work group committees that have been happening over the last 2 to 3 months, really trying to help educate folks on the fact that they need about 1.7 to 1.8 billion each year for just their operations. And in the governor's recommended budget, she allocated 1.75 billion for both years. So it's really going to be up to the legislature to figure out how are we going to raise the revenue to meet that, just so ODOT can continue to operate at the level they need to operate, which is different because in past sessions there's been more fund, like more project, more capital construction, those kinds of things. That doesn't seem to be the primary purpose, and the co-chairs are not talking about that. But we're going to continue to monitor and be really involved in those conversations because as it progresses, what kind of potential funding becomes available through those conversations, we want to be part of that. We want to be looking at that, watching that, thinking about both that funding, and then also there's a lot about transit and multimodal and micromobility. And so I know Peter's been a part of a work group that's really worked on some of the definitions and things and efforts around micromobility. So paying attention to that part of the conversation as well. SDCs are always our fun topic that we get to be monitoring for. a couple years ago, there was a bigger effort and THPRD was very engaged in helping to educate legislators about what those are, how those are used, why they're so critical to special districts and local governments and parks districts. There haven't been any really big comprehensive pieces put forward, but there are at least a couple of bills that we know about right now that are going to address SDCs. So we're going to watch those really closely. There's also been talk in a wildfire funding group about SDCs. There's talks kind of in these different ways about potential funding uses. So want to monitor that, be part of that, and continue to play the role of educating about what that tool means and how it's used and why it's so critical. And then anticipated issues are budget priorities, making sure that we are able to share those with our legislative delegation, what we're doing, where we're looking at, kind of what our funding needs are, and how any alignment there might be at the legislative level. And I realize I'm saying a lot. I apologize. I don't know if it's because I'm in my car and there's cars going by, but my apologies for I just did it again, for my stutter. Next slide. I just can't help myself. Okay, so that Q&A discussion, if anyone has heard more or another issue that I didn't raise or anything that I need to be aware of as far as what you are hearing about percolating out there, I'd love to hear it. Or if there's any information that I can get for you in addition to what I shared, happy to do it.
Fantastic. Fellow colleagues, I've got the Lisa tab. Jump in.
Thank you, Kylie, so much. Happy start of 2025. Two things on top of my mind is when we have an educational opportunity with whoever replaces Representative Reynolds. The three candidates, all lovely, thoughtful people, don't know a lot about THPRD. So there's just an opportunity. They will be bombarded, right? They will be drinking from a fire hose. But let's be our nice, friendly selves. And then I just wanted to mention that I know we are, property taxes, Measure 5 and 50. I mean, it's been such a topic here. We will not be fixing it by ourselves. And I know you are monitoring bills, so I'll be really curious if anything around property taxes is a potential bill, and if we can at least share our perspective or write a letter. I think that we have a role in this for sure. We are deeply impacted. We're not the ones to lead it for a lot of reasons, but I hope that we lend our voice to those conversations.
Absolutely. Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say, Kylie, that I continue to share that message in all the venues that I have the opportunity to talk about it. And we did have an SDAO legislative committee meeting a few weeks back, and I raised it again, and Hasina didn't exactly laugh at me, but she did indicate that that's a heavy lift.
Absolutely.
That wholesale tax reform idea for the state of Oregon is a big deal, but I think you're right. We have to continue to push it and say it and daylight it, and it's
We all.
yeah.
And we have a part, right? I mean, our peers at the city and the county, they're all saying the same thing. And there's gonna be at least 2 bills about the kicker this year, which will get people talking. So it's just good for us to know our facts and be able to talk about this issue.
I will add very quickly, absolutely. And like you just said, Felicita, that we are not the only ones, and our partners across the board. I think I hear it in every corner of the state from every type of local government about that issue in the property tax system. And really, it's broken, flawed. How do we take this on? So know that I am monitoring those opportunities and those conversations really closely, and when and where we can, we can lift that up, and absolutely we can put that on part of our lobby day too, just to let them know that it won't be new to them, it won't be shocking to them, but we can continue to let them know that this has to be addressed at some point. But like Aisha said, it's a long-term conversation, and will it be fixed soon? No, but do we need to keep reminding people that it needs to be? Yes.
Alfredo.
I would appreciate as much information as I can get my hands on in the next week, if possible, just because we're going to start having West Side Economic Alliance legislative reception, PCC's having one-on-one conversations I'm having in other capacities. So any of the stuff on slide 19 here, just, I mean, I'm vaguely aware of all these topics. But once I get below the thing written on the slide, I start to lose the thread a little bit. So anything that you all have from past, or the staff or Kylie, whoever can bring me up to speed as quick as possible, or just blow the dust off my brain a little bit so I can remember what it is we're really trying to hang our hat on. But I expect to be having a lot of conversations with our legislative folks in the next 10 days probably. So
Is,
just cranking it up a bit.
is slide 19 our state priorities?
It is the anticipated THPRD issues.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yep.
I will
So,
touch base with
community.
Aisha and, yeah, okay.
Thank you. Thank you all. Yep. Just putting that out there on the radar. So
Got it. I'll work on that and I'll touch base with Aisha and we'll figure out how to get you what you need.
thank you for making me sound good.
Happy to.
I have no questions. I mean, a lot of this stuff, there's some overlap in my day job, of course. So Kylie, I mean, when I hear things that will be germane to this work and appropriate, I'll be communicating with you as much as I can.
I really appreciate that. And I also look forward to seeing you in the building and having we can treat each other as another set of ears and eyes on these things. So I really appreciate that.
I recognize that pulling together schedules and whatnot to get the lobby day is a huge heavy lift. We've talked about doing more than one potentially. And so I just want to resurface that. I think I was unable to attend because of work demands. You have a board that is full of working professionals. And so I even look at it as an opportunity if we had at least two, if then schedules didn't align where we could make one, then maybe we could make the other. So appreciate the amount of work that it goes into just make one day happen. And then I'm asking for potentially more, but I think it was something that we've voiced as potentially having an opportunity to maybe get down there more than one time. So just wanted to offer that reminder. Any other questions or comments for Kylie or Aisha? Thank you. Kylie, thank you for joining from wherever it is that you are joining. And I cannot believe that you even took a moment to apologize. We're grateful to have you here, and you even have wonderful lighting in your car. So
It's my
you're gonna
car
have-
light and I'm in a truck stop at Tangent. So
It's rather impressive, and we could hear you wonderfully well. So thank you for making the time and delivering this update for us, and Happy New Year.
thank you. And same to everyone there. Thank you so much. And I will sign off and let you have the rest of your hopefully short rest of your meeting.
Thank you, Kylie.
Bye.
And thank you, Aisha. Appreciate it. Before I say I think we're there, Doug, anything else that you have on the docket that you'd like to comment on, or?
No, we're looking good. Your board president, Barbie, and I will be talking as early as tomorrow about, kind of projecting forward the potential of a work session for the board to kind of work through some of the key priority items, regain our focus on some of the critical items we have in front of us, bond, variety of different projects that will lead to great opportunities for the community as a whole.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, everyone. I can't believe we did it, but I think with that we are done. And so I can call the meeting adjourned.
Thank you.